To be honest, I didn't expect much going into the first Ace Attorney. I mean, a game where its main mechanic is reading text boxes and mocking a foreign legal system isn't really the most appealing thing out there. Yet here we are 2 years later and I'm still talking about this damn franchise. There's just something special about this series that really resonates with me. I like solving the different cases as well as interacting with these interesting characters. And these games are incredibly well designed despite their simplistic nature, something that several other videos I've covered in the past. But personally, it was just a different experience I was used to from any other game out there. The ridiculous cases and characters contrasting some rather dark moments just felt fun and intriguing. And it's kinda why these games never really got old for me. Even with the several ups and downs, they were still enjoyable to play with a new collection of cases you solve in each. But after completing Spirit of Justice, I'd finally finished every single one of them. And for a moment, it felt like the franchise had finally met a conclusion. But in reality, it was far from over. You see, past those 8 games was another spin-off, one that followed Phoenix's ancestors surrounding an entirely different cast of characters and setting. However, at the time though, it was basically impossible for me to play them. That's because these 2 games were never released outside of Japan because of several localization issues. And as a result, I didn't really anticipate them coming anytime soon. But lo and behold, here we are once again. April of 2021, the Great Ace Attorney was announced to be releasing in the West, and the rest is history. July 2021 arrives and here I am playing the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles with more Sherlock Holmes than ever. And after finishing it, boy what an experience it was. To say the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles is just fantastic would honestly be an understatement. I don't know how to describe it besides this game is absolutely phenomenal. And it's unfortunate because it feels like the game has been severely overlooked by so many. Look, I get it, reading is really the most fun thing in the world. I don't even like reading. And a 70-hour reading experience in an era where shorter games are becoming more and more desirable is a lot to ask for someone who wants to simply shoot some bad guys. But the Great Ace Attorney does so much so brilliantly, and I don't want all that effort to go overlooked. This game feels like the magnum opus for the series and the creator of it, Shu Takumi. There's so much care put into every aspect of the game, it's honestly commendable. Visually, it's probably the best in the entire series. I love the style of the models and environments, mixing the historical context of 1900s Japan and Britain with some steampunk elements here and there. It really does fit the Ace Attorney style, but adds a layer of realism to it, portraying a more gritty and grounded tone compared to the rest of the series. And the same goes with the character designs, all being perfect embodiments with their personalities and little gimmicks behind them. I highly recommend looking into Kazuri Nuri's analysis of all of his character designs and artwork. He goes into detail about how he created each character and provides some really interesting insight into the creative process in making these games. Now, the series shift to 3D was something I was skeptical about at first. It just didn't feel right moving off of the classic 2D sprites and into the 3D models we saw in the last 2 games. Like, what the fuck is this? But the Great Ace Attorney really went the extra mile to make them the best they can possibly be. The 3D models and animations are fluid and seamless while replicating the liveliness of the DS sprites. Like, these characters just feel so alive with how animated all their motions are. And they capitalize upon all the benefits to switch to 3D cap to the series. Even just the simple things like having the characters be in the environment or just the models face each other while they're talking to each other are nice little details that add to the immersion. And then there's the new mechanics with the dance deductions, summonation examinations, and pressing multiple witnesses on the stand, all of which are implemented extremely well. They're all really fun to play and keep the game moving at a nice pace. It's an extra dynamic that adds something unique to the standard investigation and trial segments. And all these features are nice ways to glean even more information about the case while bringing out the best of the characters and writing. These minigames are simple yet effective, and fit seamlessly into the series unlike other mechanics in previous games. But let's be honest, if you don't like Sherlock Holmes dancing and snapping his fingers all around the witness, there's something genuinely wrong with you. And finally, there's the soundtrack, and as you can probably tell by the background music to this video, man do I love this soundtrack. The orchestral themes are really a step forward for the series. They still maintain that iconic music composition style from the other games, but now they're giving even more weight behind them because of the use of actual instruments. And that results in them invoking a stronger emotional response from each song. It's something that is especially impactful within the story, from the casual down periods to the more somber moments to the triumphant pursuits. I really do stand by that this is one of the best video game soundtracks I've ever listened to. What else can I say besides the music slaps hard? But obviously, this entire series is driven on it being a murder mystery visual novel at heart. It expects you to be openly engaged and process every little detail to unravel the mystery. And usually with mystery titles, there's always something lacking as a result. Maybe it's the characters or the overarching narrative or even the mysteries themselves being lackluster and predictable. There needs to be not only strong attention to detail in practically everything, but also incredible confidence in the story you are telling for the narrative to truly succeed. And Ace Attorney as a whole has been a mixed bag of them, some games being more consistent than others. There's a lot of times where cases are just outstanding, some of them being nearly flawless. But then there's other cases that feel underwhelming or infuriating where, while still fun to some extent, don't nearly match the quality the series can be at its best. But Great Ace Attorney is able to execute all their cases extremely well, and there's a lot of reasons for that. Probably the biggest reason is how interconnected each case is to one another. It always feels like the story is building up towards something bigger from case to case. There's always something new to learn and thus a new question that needs to be answered. And that continual sense of progression throughout each case is integral for the game, especially for a game like this. Not to mention, the variety of each case allows the game to not become too monotonous. The cases shuffle around with a lot of different concepts that makes them stand out for one another. Especially in the first game where you don't even get a standard trial investigation segment until case 4 of that game. And this unconventional method in particular is used very cleverly, showcasing the development of Ryunosuke Naruhodo, introducing new gameplay mechanics, and establishing several character relationships. These cases give the game an identity while allowing the player to truly sink into the world and better understand Ryunosuke Naruhodo. And then there's the mysteries and twists themselves. The best type of twists are those that revolutionize ours as well as the character's preconceived knowledge of what we knew up to that point. Not only that, there has to be some kind of consequence because of them that systematically changes everything. Twists are a great way to reinforce certain themes and plot points in a story, and that's exactly what the Great Ace Attorney does so well. While there are some obvious reveals here and there, the twists bring new life into the story each time one happens. They flip any type of information or assumption we might have on our heads, and you get to see how impactful those are with how much they affect the characters. And actually solving these mysteries and realizing the implications from them honestly had me jumping out of my seat on some occasions. And that feeling is so magical when it happens. The twists get you directly involved into the story and characters, creating that connection with them that is so invaluable to a game like this. There's so much more to unravel with each twist themselves, but I don't want to spoil the surprise for anyone, so I'll leave it at that. But even with all of that, the game still retains those classic Ace Attorney moments that I've always enjoyed about the franchise. There's still the crazy characters, the witty dialogue, the heartwarming storylines, and who could forget the step ladders? Or apparently spades and shovels now, I guess, but whatever. It's that charm that makes Ace Attorney in general so great. Certainly there's those darker tones and insane mysteries, but they never outweigh those simpler moments that are still as lovely as ever. And it's nice how the Great Ace Attorney is able to find that perfect balance between the overall charm of the original games and expand upon that core concept into creating a more complex and a heavy story. And finally, probably the most important aspect has to be the characters. Ace Attorney is a character-centric game through and through. The cases live or die based on how strong the main and side characters are. So with the Great Ace Attorney facing a fresh slate of characters, how does this stack up? Well, I'd say they did a pretty good job considering how spectacular all of them are. Other than what I mentioned about their character designs, they all have their own distinct personalities. They have their different backgrounds, motivations, behaviors, and everything of the sorts to make them a fun character. But they're also given enough depth to flesh them out and make them feel more relatable as a result. It was honestly hard to find a character I didn't like from a character standpoint. There's a lot to learn and process about each one of them, and I really loved that. Even the nameless jurors are still given this amount of care to them, a lot having some rather detailed backstories behind them. And the new main cast in this game is probably one of my favorites in any form of media in general. Suzuto, Iris, Gina, Van Zeeks, Herlock, and a whole plethora of other reoccurring characters are written extremely well. They all bounce off each other so naturally, each having their own quirks and flaws that make them so interesting. You get to witness all these character arcs entangling into one another, and these relationships strengthen or sour as you progress through the story. And once again, with how much is going on within the plot, you get to see how drastic these characters change after certain events. I feel like it's quite telling when the cases are no longer called turnabouts, but rather adventures. This game is more than just a murder mystery lawyer game. It's rather a journey following along all of these characters and how much they changed from the beginning, Ryunosuke being the forefront of that adventure. Some of the biggest themes in this game are things like the power yet fragility of trust, the conflict of morality, the wounds that must open up for the truth, loss, perseverance, and the list goes on. And these large themes are demonstrated through these characters. Characters that we grew attached to and cared about throughout this journey. As I mentioned before, the twist transformed basically everything we knew up to that point, and the characters are no exception. The concept of betrayal and deception are major topics told through these characters, invoking a weird feeling of trust and distrust in practically everyone. And how these circumstances affect our characters is honestly a lot to take in. And this is through 10 cases, by the way. 10 cases of conflict, resolution, development, and regression that continue to pile up. These are complex characters that go through a lot, and the connections they have to the core themes makes the message of it all even more impactful. No matter how outrageous any of the characters are, they still become a reflection of ourselves in some way. And it's why I really love how the characters are written in this entire franchise. They're eccentric and a joy to be around, yes, but they're still given a level of realism you can relate with personally. At least, I certainly do. I know I've been rambling way too long about this game, but honestly, there's so much more I want to talk about that I simply can't. I want others to experience this brilliant game without me ruining it by delving into spoilers. And it sucks that more people haven't played this game because, well, it's reading. But this game means way too much to me that I just had to talk about it. I hope this game can one day get the recognition it deserves because there's so much you love about it. If you haven't played the game, I hope I gushed about it enough for you to play it. And if this is the final game to this incredible franchise that has honestly impacted me so much since discovering it, well, what can I say besides objection? Hey, what's up? Thank you all so much for watching this video. It really does mean the world to me that you all just stuck with me up to this point. Like, this was a new style of video for me, and like, I faced a lot of roadblocks making this video. Like, I wasn't really the most comfortable with my voice. There was like 3 or 4 different script changes, and you don't want to know how many audio recordings there is. Like, ooh boy. But I just want to appreciate how good this game really is, and like how much it means to me personally, because it really does. And there's so much more about this series as a whole that I really want to talk about and analyze, because this series does mean so much to me. So, yeah. Once again, thank you all so much for watching this video. I really can't say how much I appreciate all the support and everyone watching these videos. So yeah, thank you. Have a good night. See ya.